Greetings, members one and all of the Salivation Nation. This is a new series that I'm doing based off some older infographics. And part 1 is about the most sought after metal on Earth, gold. Let's explore. Yes, these are old infographics. You don't see many precious metals infographics these days, very rarely. And but usually there was a site that would publish these things, and they were a pretty big hit. I think it gives you an idea of what's going on in the world of precious metals, and really kind of condenses things into a visualized form with statistics and the like. But this is the Gold series presented by Gold Corp. From USA Gold has hosted these particular infographics, and we're going to take a look at them each one at a time. There's 5 total, and we're going to do some videos of this because I think this helps give us a sense of what makes gold so unique above and beyond any other metal out there, and the fact that really gold is the most sought after metal on the earth. So here in this first section here, gold, like all natural elements heavier than iron, was not born on the earth. It says a collision of neutron stars or supernova explosions are thought to be the origin of the yellow metal. And that is a fascinating, interesting statistic here, is that anything that's heavier than iron aren't born on this earth. It came from the stars. Very interesting indeed. So how did gold become the most sought after metal on Earth? Well, then let's look back through history. Gold was one of the first metals discovered by ancient peoples because it could be found in pure native form, such as nuggets or flakes. And gold was first used ornamentally because it is the most malleable and ductile metal. So you can see here that it's been utilized for making of rings and the like. So it immediately had an immediate use because of its malleability and ductility and its beauty. However, it is gold's permanence and luster that linked it to the concepts such as royalty and immortality. Gold does not tarnish or corrode over time. And as you can see here, the Egyptians were very fond of gold and utilized it tremendously to help to immortalize themselves when their mummification process and their burial. Many early civilizations used gold in jewelry, including the Egyptians, Greeks, and Mesopotamians. Over time, gold became synonymous with wealth and power. Yes, indeed. Whoever owns the gold, they have the power. That's right, rules the world. And gold has revolutionized trading as well. The ancient trading system of barter was terribly inefficient. Barter had 4 major problems, which the precious metals solved. The coincidence of wants: each trader must want what the other has. So in other words, if somebody had something of one thing and somebody else wanted chickens in this case, or turkeys or whatever, and they didn't want it, but they were of equal value, it did no good. And then the indivisibility of goods. Some goods are difficult or impossible to divide into smaller portions for trade. In other words, a mule cannot be cut unless you're going to sell the meat for consumption, but otherwise, if you need transportation, and you can't chop off a leg of a horse. And then the third would be the common measure of value. Values of the goods cannot be measured easily against each other. In other words, a lute or a guitar, it's hard to value that compared to a shovel, for instance. They provide different service, a different value, for sure. And the fourth is the lack of a store of value. Many goods are perishable and cannot hold value over the long term. That's right, milk easily spoils, as does cabbage and carrots and other things that typically go out or can be consumed over time. so they can degrade. So money has been used to solve the problem as barter as far back as 564 BC. Other estimates say 700 BC. And I've also heard in the Bible as far back as 3000 BC, you've seen silver being mentioned. But nonetheless, gold certainly has been utilized even before 564. But to solve the problem of money, it was around that time when the Lydians decided to mint coins that were utilized here. These coins were made of electrum, which is a naturally occurring alloy of gold and silver. Very, very cool indeed. Near this time, the Chinese began using a square gold coin called the Ying Yuan for trade. And that's fascinating. So it's about that time, in different parts of the world, two different societies discovered the utility of gold in that manner of form. The Greek city-states minted their own distinct coins and forced foreigners to change money into local currency at an exchange rate favorable to the state. Doesn't that figure? The government always does that, but nonetheless, there you go. Very fascinating indeed to see how the Greeks utilized this system. And the Romans were the first to use gold and silver in a widespread monetary system. So in all of their lands, they utilized gold and silver as money, the Romans. Fascinating indeed. They set the foundation for sure, and so that it would be empire-wide. And during the Roman times, the silver to gold ratio was 12 to 1. Sound familiar? I've talked about the gold to silver ratio in terms of being as a fixed ratio of 15 or 16 to 1. And during this time, it was 12 to 1. Of course, back then, it was very difficult to find silver, especially in some of these states, some of the Roman Empire's territories. And gold was obviously very much sought after. And so it would make sense based off the supply and demand at the time. That's why they say for a Roman soldier, a Roman denarius was equal to about 12 hours of hard labor for a regular centurion. The Romans were able to extract gold on a large scale through the advancement of hydraulic mining. Yes, indeed. They actually did that in Spain, and you can see evidence of that to this day, of the hydraulic mining, and when they were in that area. However, it wasn't enough to make up for the empire's excessive spending. And so that means that they needed to debase their currency by adding base metals to the gold and silver to make it easier for them to pay their debts. Sound familiar? We're doing that pretty much the same way today, except we're not even debasing. There's nothing to debase at this point. They're just creating more of them. And the dollar bill is being printed or digitized at an alarming rate these days. The debasement of Roman currency is one of the reasons cited by historians as a cause for the downfall of the empire. Now, it's just one of the reasons, and doom and gloomers out there, we can't pinpoint it as being the sole reason, but certainly it is a contributing factor. And so far in this country, we've gotten away with it for quite some time, especially since we have abandoned completely the gold standard in 1971. But we're still getting away with it to this very day. So here, this part of the infographic says, did you know that during the reign of Claudius II Gothicus, who reigned from 268 to 270 AD, the amount of silver in a supposedly 100% silver denarius was only 0.02%. So yes, indeed. So silver was certainly taken out of the coins at that time there. We can see how much of that debasement has occurred since around 60 AD. Fascinating indeed. So gold is money. It's no coincidence why so many civilizations choose to use gold as sound money. Gold's properties made it the perfect choice. Yes, indeed. It's rare. The world gold supply increases by only 1 to 2% per year. Gold is malleable and soft. This allows it to be easily pressed into coins, and it has intrinsic value. In other words, that history value, that utilitarian value that it has had for millennia, it has been universally valued since the beginning of civilization, and that is its value in and of itself, which is basically reinforced by history, for sure. Historical value. Gold is easy to identify. Its density and unique color make it unmistakable, for sure. Now, it can be faked, and it is faked, but by and large, there's some pretty easy tests you can do to counter that. And it is also immortal. It does not react with air, moisture, or most corrosive agents. In fact, aqua regia can be applied, and that can break apart gold into a liquid form, basically, constituting its of its atomic structure, but it can be reimposed again as well. Gold meets all of the properties of money. Essentially, it's a medium of exchange, it's a store of value, it's a unit of account, it is divisible, fungible, and portable. And money has been invented, and its name was gold. So there you go. Gold has been the foundation of money since the very beginning. Since its first widespread use in Rome, civilizations continue to use gold and silver as money through the most of history. That's right. For the vast majority of history, really up until the 60s, silver and gold were used as money. At least silver was for the most part. But gold in many different ways too. However, with the invention of banking and paper currency, the role of gold began to transform. We can see that with silver too. Then we have something known as the gold standard. A gold standard is a monetary system in which the standard of economic unit of account is based on a fixed quantity of gold. This allows for the fixed exchange rate between countries. And indeed, and in fact, in 1717 AD, the master of Britain's royal mint, none other than Sir Isaac Newton, changed the bimetallic relationship between gold coins and the silver penny. And because of that change, this drove silver out of the circulation and put Britain on a de facto gold standard. Very interesting indeed, fact of information there. So I didn't realize this, but there's actually 3 types of gold standard. There is a gold specie standard, where a currency is directly exchangeable to gold coins at a fixed rate. As an example, in the late 19th century, the British pound sterling was equal to $4.85, or 20.43 German marks. One British sovereign coin equal to a pound contained 7.32 grams of gold. And then we had the gold exchange standard. A country guarantees a fixed exchange rate to the currency of another country that is on the gold standard. For parts of the 20th century, the U.S. dollar was backed by gold. Other countries, to obtain a gold exchange standard, would fix their currency to the greenback. It's essentially, in many ways, kind of what Bretton Woods had set up. Then we have the gold bullion standard, which is currency can be exchanged for gold bullion at a fixed rate. So basically that means that just the actual gold itself. So from 1925 to 1931 in the UK, currency could be traded for 400-ounce bars of pure gold at a fixed price. Very interesting indeed. But then we move to modern history, where things changed dramatically. When President Roosevelt issued Executive Order 6102 in 1933, it criminalized the possession of any monetary gold. So all gold by U.S. citizens was to be delivered to the Federal Reserve. They bought it from them and exchanged it for paper money. And in 1945 and 1971, the Bretton Woods system was a form of the gold exchange standard. During this period, 1 ounce of gold was valued at $35. Then in 1971, President Nixon ended the convertibility of gold to U.S. dollars. This began the era of fiat currency that allowed the gold price to float. And essentially that means that it was originally meant to be temporary, but that means that gold was not limited by what the dollars do, which means that it empowers us, for those of us who hold gold, because now it's over $1,800 as of the recording of this video. Despite gold no longer being the basis of the modern monetary system, countries still choose to hold trillions of dollars worth of gold in their reserves. In fact, today there is more demand for gold than ever before. Yes, indeed. We're going to get to that, I think, in future videos of this series. So gold is the most malleable metal. 1 ounce of gold can be hammered into a single sheet, 9 meters by 9 meters. That's about 30 feet square. It's also the most ductile metal. 1 ounce of gold can be stretched to a length of 50 miles. The resulting wire would be just 5 microns wide. Wow. If you were to take all the gold ever mined and stretch it into the same type of wire, it would be 280 trillion miles long. No big deal, that's just 100 times the distance to Pluto. Gold is resistant. Gold is a noble metal and resists degradation to air, moisture, and acidic conditions. Acids are used to dissolve most metals, but only a special mixture of acids called aqua regia, I mentioned that earlier in this video, translating to royal water, can dissolve gold, and it can be reconstituted. I posted a video about a story about a Nobel Peace Prize where they had to hide it from the Germans, and they melted it down. They dissolved it using aqua regia and reconstituted it later. Gold is rare. This is an interesting analogy here. Gold is so rare that the world produces nearly as much steel in 1 hour as the total amount of gold mined throughout history. So look at that. In 2010, annual steel production was at 1.4 million tons, or billion tons, I guess, there. And we can see there 174,100 tons all-time of gold, and 415.5 tons per hour, 161,000. So of all the gold in the world, 174,100 tons be drawn in time. This means it could fit in a 2169-foot cube. How was that 174,100 tons mined? And where and how is gold mined? How much gold is left on Earth, and who has the most? That will be in the second part of this series, for sure. So there you have it. Very fascinating indeed. This is why gold, being the most sought-after metal on Earth, in this new series. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.